Okay, Death Note. Do I like it? Yes. I like the story, I like the characters, I like the overall narrative of the show. Okay, some of my favorite characters. So it would be L. So he's, I would say, is about 10 out of 10. Followed by Light, who is, I would say 9 out of 10. Light is pretty interesting because I think Light, there are two versions of Light. So there's Light, who is Kira. He is probably, I would say, the worst version of himself. It's like about 7 out of 10 because he kind of deteriorates at the end of the show. Like he gets worse and worse and worse. But Light as Light, who is like oblivious to him being Kira, is a 9 out of 10 because that's his genuine self, knowing that he's innocent and there's another criminal behind the case. The reason why I put the like the Kira version low because his acting, like he pretends to be Light, he pretends to be innocent. You can see the change of his voice, and especially in the sub version. I don't know how bad it is in the English version, but in the sub version, you can. I just hate his voice like so much. On to the worst character in the show, I would say it's about. I think it's Misa. She's like a 4 out of 10. At worst, a 3 out of 10. I think she just throws the whole story around, and you just feel so frustrated as a viewer. Like the story goes so well until she comes up, and just kind of feel frustrated, like you're trapped in the situation, which is good in a sense. But there are like, for me personally, there are 3 best episodes. So it would be episode 6 and 7. So if you want to get into that, I would say watch up to episode 7 because that is like the selling point to the show. Episode 25 is also one of the best episodes because if you're committed to the show and if you've been watching from the start, I would say episode 25 is really worth it. I'll break down the show in 3 separate parts. So episode 1 and 10, really serious. The best stuff happens in episode 1 to 10. Episode 11 to 20 it kind of goes in like a light-hearted direction because the Kira Light is missing. So it kind of becomes more funny and more humorous, which is fine. It doesn't take out much from the show. The seriousness is gone, but the funny side, really good. It kind of balances it out really well. Then we go back to episode 21 to 37, which then picks up the serious tone, but it peaks at episode 25 and it kind of slows down from episode 26 to 37 because one of the best characters goes, I would say, spoiler, he dies. So the show is at its best when L is alive. Like from the start to finish, you're kind of interested in the cat and mouse chase between Kira and L, and L kind of makes it really fun. Like he pushes Kira into the corner and Kira has to fight it out every single time. It's because every time Light is put in a pinch, he manages to find a way to get out of it, which is more fun about the show. And knowing, you know that what L is doing and all the police force is doing is the right thing, but you actually want Light to win in all the situations, which then brings me to episode 37, which is the final episode, and I would say is the weakest episode of the show because the Light, who is clever, who always finds a way to get out of the situation, just kind of makes a mess of everything and loses at the end. The Light I watched throughout the show wasn't there, so calm and collected. Even as I mentioned, the best episode in the show, 6 and 7, he's put in a pinch. He has to find a way out of the situation, which he does well to get out of it. Like episode 6 and 7 are like a masterpiece, like you're watching a movie. So Light doesn't have any superpowers other than the Death Note. So he has to figure out a person's name. He does it by just talking to them. He just talks his way through. With that being said, you don't see the same Light. The Light you kind of fall in love with. He's not there in episode 37. He's just gone. He just makes a mess of the situation, gets overconfident, underestimates his opponents, and he fails. He is likable. He obviously he's a protagonist of the show, but he's not the best character in the show. It hands down goes to L because he makes the whole show. And once L is gone, you're kind of not that interested in the show and the decisions that Light makes because he just constantly underestimates his opponents. Oh, and earlier on, Light didn't used to rely on others. He worked on his own and came up with the plans. But when he started involving other people in his plans, he kind of started leaving loose ends. Some of the decisions he makes, he kind of like leaves you frustrated. Most fun parts of the show goes from episode 1 to 25. So from episode 26 to episode 37, it becomes very slow and kind of leaves you more frustrated. Obviously, with L missing, the show isn't the same anymore, and the new characters are kind of like meant to fill in L's shoes, which they don't. So overall show rating, I would give that note about a 9 out of 10. It starts off very well, it has a good midpoint, but at the end it kind of falls apart. That is it. Best characters on the show, Light and L higher than Light. Worst characters, Misa Amane, she's like the most hated character. Like, I'm genuinely being honest, I erased her from my memory, and when I rewatched it, I just realized how much I hated her, how badly she kind of like fucks up the show. Then I would say best episodes, episode 6, episode 7, and episode 25. Worst episode, episode 37. It's a very poor climax to the show, and overall rating 9 out of 10.